Good fortune is what happens when opportunity meets with planning. The flowers are ready to bloom, the balloons are ready to release. It's a great day on we have been planning and waiting for. I feel honored to welcome you all for the inaugural function of Students Association Scenaria and IETE Students Forum organized by Department of Electronics and Communication Engineering, Vellalar College of Engineering and Technology. The secret of getting ahead is getting started. So I would like to invite Ms. S. Dharni, final year ECE, to begin this wonderful session by delivering the welcome address.
Good morning to one and all present here today. I extend a warm welcome to everyone present here to this gathering. Today, on this occasion, we have invited a special guest who was very kind enough to accept our invitation in spite of having a busy schedule. I would like to welcome Mr. R. Manihandan, Senior Specialist Staff, Robert Bosch, Bangalore. We are also delighted to get you here. A warm welcome to you, sir, from all the EC department family. I heartily welcome Mr. S.T. Chandrasekhar, Secretary and Correspondent of Vellala College of Engineering and Technology, Dr. M. Jayaraman, Principal of Vellala College of Engineering and Technology, Professor P. Jayachandar, Dean of Vellala College of Engineering and Technology, Dr. M. Nisha Angeline, HOD of ECE, Scenario Coordinators, Dr. V. Gauri Shankar, Associate Professor, and Mr. S. Nachimuthu, Assistant Professor, IET Coordinators, Ms. P. Nandini, Assistant Professor, and Ms. M. Shivaranjini, Assistant Professor, and all our faculty members and all our students. Once again, I welcome you all.
Thank you, Tarini. It's my pleasure to invite Dr. M. Nisha Angelin, Professor and HOD of Electronics and Communication Engineering, to introduce the Office Bearers of Student Association Scenaria.
Okay. Warm welcome to you all. So today, in the new academic year, we have gathered here for the inaugural function of Student Association Scenaria 2021-22. So it's great pleasure to announce all the office bearers of Scenaria 2020-21. On behalf of EC family, first, I'm very glad to announce the Student Secretary, Ms. P. Charumati from final year ECE C section. Gauri. Next, the treasurer is Mr. S. Naveen Kumar from final year ECE B section. And the joint secretary is nominated from final year ECE A section, S. Dharani. And Mr. N.R. Dharnesh is selected as joint treasurer from final year ECE A section. I'm very glad to announce the other executive members of Scenaria. Ms. S.R. Ashmita from final year ECE A section, Mr. P. Lokesh from final year ECE B section, Mr. D. Surendra from final year ECE C section, Ms. M. Bavadarni from third year A section, Ms. B. Malarvili from third year B section, Ms. Sadhanika from third year ECE C section, Ms. R. Dharani from second year ECE A section, Mr. Navanida Krishnan from second year ECE B section, and Mr. R.B. Rohan from second year ECE C section. I wish you all the very best for your future plans and the activities. Once again, I wish you all. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. I'd like to invite Ms. P. Charumati, final year ECEC, to propose association activity by Student Secretary.
I am very much jubilant to introduce myself P. Sarumadi as the Student Secretary of Association of Electronics and Communication Engineers. Now I am here to deliver the proposed activities of our ECE Department Association, Seneria, for this academic year 2021 to 2022. In the fourth week of July, we have started our association activities by conducting an online industrial training program on blockchain using Python in association with Pantech Solutions. In the fourth week of September, we have planned to conduct a webinar on ICT tool for teaching learning process Blockspot. On the first week of October, we have planned to conduct a webinar on machine learning using Python. On the third week of October, we have arranged a workshop on Python for software development by Livewire. On the second week of December, we have arranged C++ technical training in association with Pantech Solutions. By the fourth week of December, we have planned to conduct JavaScript technical training in association with Pantech Solutions. After that, at the beginning of new year, we have planned to conduct webinar on Ellomatics data science using Python. By the third week of January, we have arranged a value-added course on DOMBot in association with Sriram Electronics for third year. After that, we will conduct intra-department event on technical paper presentation. By the second week of February, we have planned to conduct value-added course on embedded system using Arduino in association with EdGate for second years. By the third week of February, we have arranged a webinar on PLB design in association with ST Industries for second year. After that, we are going to conduct a seminar on real-time implementation of brain-computer interface in association with Pantech Solutions for first and second year. On the month of March, we have arranged an internship for 1 month on machine learning and deep learning using Python. After that, we have arranged internship for 1 month on electric vehicle. And in the last week of March, value-added course on networking and circuit switching will be organized. By the second week of April, we are planning to conduct a webinar on computer vision using OpenCV in association with Pantech Solutions. After that, we have planned to conduct a webinar on Industry 4.0 and IoT in association with Intech Systems for second year. By the third week of April, antenna design using HFSS in association with NTuple system. Finally, we will wind up our association activities for this academic year by conducting association validatory function in the last week of April. Before leaving, I assured that through our continuous aspire and hard work, we will execute all these plans in a very successful manner and make this a golden period of Seneria. Thank you very much for this responsibility and opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharumadi, for delivering these wonderful activities with us. I heartily welcome Ms. P. Nandini, Assistant Professor, SIGR, IETE Coordinator, to introduce the office bearers of IETE Student Forum.
Good morning, one and all present here. It's a great pleasure to introduce the office bearers of IETE for the academic year 2021 and 2022. Ms. KG Divya of final year ECE as IETE Secretary. Mr. M. Selva Santos of third year ECE as IETE Joint Secretary. Ms. S. Sweta of final year ECE as IETE Treasurer. Ms. R.P. Mr. T. Joint Treasurer. T. Nandini of third year ECE as IETE Executive Member. And Ms. S. Kanishka of second year ECE as IETE Executive Member. Ms. V.C. Kirtana of second year ECE as IETE Executive Member. Ms. P. Subhavarshini of second year ECE as IETE Executive Member. So I wish all the best for the future events and activities to be a grand success. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. I'd like to invite Ms. M. Bavadarani, third year ECE, to introduce as the chief guest of the session.
Wonderful morning to one and all present here. I am so excited to give away the intro of our today's guest of honor, respected sir, Mr. Manikandan Ramadas. He completed his diploma on Electronics and Communication Engineering in Congo Polytechnic College, and he successfully completed his bachelor degree on Electronics and Communication Engineering in Vellana College of Engineering and Technology. From the year 2013 to 2016, he was an associate software engineer in Shear Software Systems Private Limited. Next, he continued his career as a software engineer of IoT products in Tech Risers Transdomain Private Limited in the year 2016 to 2018. And from 2018 to till now, Mr. Manikandan Ramadas pursuing as a senior specialist in embedded cyber security, automotive domain in Robert Bosch Engineering and Business Solutions Private Limited. It's my pleasure to give away the welcome address of our today's chief guest. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Bavadarani. I'd like to invite Mr. ER.R. Manikandan, Senior Specialist, Robert Bosch, Bangalore, for the session. Now I welcome Sir to deliver his inaugural address and special lecture on embedded cyber security.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Ms. Bavadarani, for my introduction. Good afternoon, everyone. And also, I want to thank Mr. Dr. Gauri Shankar sir and HOD ma'am, Dr. Nisha ma'am, and also Dr. Jayaraman sir and Professor and Dean Jayachandran sir for giving this wonderful opportunity. We'll just take over the presentation. Yeah, before going to the topic, I need to thanks to VCET because now I am working in my dream and reputed organization. And also some more thing I want to explain about my experience. Actually, I got selected on campus entry from the in VCET from the Research System Private Limited. My career started with one of the small scale company. And actually, in that company, I have worked with set-top box domain. So, usually, set-top box is nothing but the DTH we are using in our home, right? So, I worked in the team of bootloader development. So, basically, if you know, how the computer is booting, how our mobile phone it's booting whenever you are power on and reset. So how the your system is getting the booting. So there is a initial bootloader software. So it will first boot and it will run your any application software or the OS. If you think about the your laptop or the computer, first the Windows OS will run in your mobile. Maybe Android OS will run. Then it will execute all the app. So basically, I have worked for the bootloader software. If you go to the any embedded system or any microcontroller or microprocessor, the first software which is going to be executed in your microcontroller or microsoftware, it's a boot software. So there are different software available, bootloader software, updater, application software. The first software which is going to be executed, that is called bootloader software. That's when my career started. Then after that, I have moved to the different domain that is called biometric authentication related IoT products. I have worked. Then I finally got an opportunity from the BAS in the field of embedded cyber security. So last 3.5 years, I'm working on the automotive embedded cyber security. So I'm going to give the awareness about the automotive domain and what are the opportunities, what are the futures, we are using in the automotive domain. So what are the job opportunities? Also, many job opportunities are available in the automotive embedded domain. Okay, so we will see the one by one. So automotive domain is very interesting domain basically, because nowadays we are spending some part of the time with our cars, okay, in our daily activity. Okay, so we want to understand what are all the features available in our car. Okay. Yeah. Agenda of the topic would be what is automotive domain or the industry, and automotive overview, and automotive architecture, and why cyber security is necessary for automotive domain, and what are all the attack vectors, and how to achieve the cyber security, and what is trusted execution environment or hardware security module. Okay, so this is all the agenda we are going to be seeing in the upcoming slides. Yeah, the first one is the what is automotive industry or what is automotive domain. Okay, so automotive industry comprises of a wide range of companies and organization involved for design, development and manufacturing and marketing and selling of a vehicle. Okay, that is called automotive industry. For example, there are different companies and organizations available for manufacture one vehicle. Okay, for example, in this automotive domain, all the level of engineers, okay, all the category of engineers, okay, we are working. We need a automobile engineers, okay, for building the car. And also we want a mechanical engineer for engine related parts, all the mechanical related parts, and we need a electrical engineers for wire, battery and wire related managements, and we want a electronics engineers for many features. Okay, in the car we have a airbag, a lot of features we have, the electronic features. Okay, so for that, and also software engineers, information technology, computer science engineers. So all the level of engineers, okay, want to be, even the chemical engineers also be used for manufacturing the car, because the painting and other stuffs, the oil. So all the things, okay, even the chemical engineers also required for making on car. Okay. So next one is the automotive overview and what is ECU. Okay, so for example, in your car, okay, there are n number of functionality available. If you think about your older car, like a very older car in 1980 or something, so it has only if you put fuel and if you do some mechanical movements, okay, it will react accordingly. There was no electronic in the older cars, but nowadays all the parts of the your vehicle, the car, it's controlled by the electronic control unit. Okay, now they have replaced all the traditional mechanical systems into with the electronic system. So what is ECU? Okay, ECU is nothing but it's an electronic control unit. It consists of microcontroller or a microprocessor. Okay, depends upon the use case they will use it, either microcontroller or the microprocessor, and also the sensors. Okay, and power switches, drivers, and voltage regulators. These are all the parts consist of, we can call it as a ECU, electronic control unit. For example, you have many features. There is an airbag, there is an engine control unit, and adaptive cruise control, automatic brake system, electronic power steering, and ideal stop and start, remote keyless entry, and parking system, and tire pressure monitoring system. These are all the basic feature even we are using in our normal cars. If you think about the luxury cars, they have a n number of feature. Okay, they have a ADAS feature. ADAS feature is nothing but driver assistance feature. Okay, and autonomous driving. Okay, nowadays in other countries they have started to use the autonomous driving, driverless cars. Okay, so and also the electric cars. Now the electric cars are booming. So most of the countries they have started to use the electric cars. Okay, so it's a wide range of opportunities out there in upcoming future. Okay, so these are all the some main features currently we are using in our cars. So each, for example, airbag. If you take some small example, whatever known example, airbag. So airbag, we have a sensor. Okay, the sensor will be placed in front and back and side. Some 8 to 10 places they have placed. Whenever the crash happen, okay, within 10 to 20 millisecond, the signal will be passed to your ECU. Then ECU will react and your airbag will be get open. Okay, within these are all everything happen within 10 to 20 millisecond. Okay, so it has a sensor, it has activator, it has a microcontroller. Then microcontroller will communicate with your airbag. Okay. This will react within 10 to 20 milliseconds. Okay, and also if you think about anti-lock braking system, it will check the speed of the car and the rotational speed of your the speed of the car and the rotational speed of your wheel, everything will be monitored and it will detect any skid happening. Okay, so there are many features are available in parking system. So like that, for example, if you take any one ECU, it will do only one functionality. If you take airbag ECU, it will do only the airbag related functionality. Okay, and if you take any remote keyless entry related ECU, it will perform only the functionality. That is called embedded system. It will do only one job. Okay, that is embedded system. Okay. So next one is the common automotive architecture. For example, there are a number of companies they are working for the different ECUs for the different purpose. Okay, so if you take some, if you divide it into the unit, they have divided into some 4 to 5 units in your car. Okay, there is a telematics unit. Telematics unit is nothing but infotainment feature. Okay, in your car, you have a, you can able to watch movie, you can able to call, you can store something. So all the whatever you are doing in your mobile, you can able to do in the infotainment feature. Okay, and also GPS, global positioning system. You can able to track your car, location, all the things you can able to get it from this GPS. Okay, GPS control module, and also radio. So these are all the entertainment related features will come into the telematics unit. So and you have a body control unit. So door control. So door control is nothing but power window and keyless entries and light control. Light control is nothing but depends upon your brightness. It will the outside brightness and inside brightness. So it will control your light immunity. So these are all coming into the light control unit and climate control. So air conditioner. So these are all coming into the body control unit, and there is a safety system. So nowadays the government is announced the airbag is mandatory for every car. At least two airbag is mandatory, front side airbag. Okay, that they have announced. If you think about ABS, anti-skid braking system, supplemental restraint system, emergency brake system. So these are all coming into the safety system because these are all dealing with our human life. Okay, so these are all coming into safety system, safety unit. And also the powertrain. Powertrain is nothing but engine control unit, transmission control unit, and oil supply control unit. So for monitoring the engine, how your fuel performance, okay, how the driver is performing, okay, whether how the driver is maintaining the fuel level or speed level, everything will be captured in our microcontroller. Okay, for example, if you are going your service station, okay, for or somehow, okay, your car is breakdown, okay, you are going to the service station, your service engineer just he will connect, there is a one tool called diagnostic tool, okay, he will connect into this OBD portal that is called onboard diagnostics. Then if you raise the complaint, my engine is not working properly, my fuel efficiency is poor, okay, my infotainment feature is not working, okay, my door is properly not controlled, or my ABS is not working. Okay, if you complain, he will read, the service engineer will read all the data, he will send some data through the gateway, the master ECU. Gateway is nothing but a master ECU. Then this master ECU will forward the packets to the slave ECUs. Okay, so each engine control have the separate ECU, transmission control have the separate, like that each feature have the separate ECU. Okay, it will send the command and it will get the data. Okay, the data will be sent back to gateway, and the gateway will send the data to the onboard diagnostic tool. Then they will take some log. They could be able to understand, okay, what is the average speed of your car you are maintaining, okay, and what is the problem in the infotainment feature. So all the thing they could be able to get it from the diagnostic tool, then they could be able to easily repair it. Okay, in older cars, okay, they need to open the engine, they want to see. Nowadays, simply, okay, they can able to get all the details about your engine, transmission, all the parts of your car. Then they could able to easily repair it. Okay, for example, if you think about the ABS, SRS, and EBA, these are all safety systems. This these ECUs are connected in high-speed CAN bus. So you know about, you have studied about the SPI, serial peripheral interface, I2C, integrated circuits. Okay, like that, there is a communication protocol called CAN bus. Okay, so it is connected into the high-speed CAN bus because airbag, ABS, these are all needs to be react very fast within a millisecond or a microsecond. Okay, so so these are all the connected to the high-speed CAN bus because these are all running at the 1 Mbps, 125 kbps to 1 Mbps. And if you think about door control, infotainment, these are all not a safety critical things, but so it gets connected to the low speed CAN bus. Okay, then everything they are taking the information from your all the ECU, then they are giving back to the master to OBD, the service engineer. What is the security we are achieving here? Okay, you have stored some personal data in the infotainment feature. Okay, you have many the configuration, the engine control related configurations are stored inside the ECU. So what is the security we are providing inside the car network? Okay, so that is what we are going to be seeing. Okay, so somebody can able to read your secret data from the ECU. We are not storing anything, but the OEM that who is developing the software, they are storing some information about your car. Okay, so all the information they could able to read it. What is security we are going to be provided inside your car? That will come into the next thing. Yeah, why cybersecurity is required for automotive domain? This is the cybersecurity not only required for automotive domain, it is required for any domain. Okay, IoT products. Okay, like you are going to implement some biometric authentication. Okay, so you want to share some your biometric fingerprints. Okay, from one microcontroller to another, or one microcontroller to cloud. Okay, so how we are sharing? If you're sharing plain format, anybody can able to take and use it for any other purpose. Okay, so how we are ensuring whether it's without hacking, it's going properly or not. So all the places in the current trend, cybersecurity is required. But if you think about automotive domain, nowadays 150 millions of connected vehicles running over the world. Okay, so one car can communicate with another car, or the car can communicate with the network cloud. Okay, so nowadays connected vehicles are coming into the world. Okay, for autonomous driving. So we need to provide the security. And also, if you think about one car, okay, one luxury car have 100 million plus lines of software code on a modern car. Okay, that definitely we needs to be protected. That is more than the Boeing 747. Okay, so because if you take one normal luxury car, it has more than 100 microcontroller, 100 ECUs. Okay, for different features they are plugged into the car. So, for example, there are 16 entry point for the hacker to hack the car. Okay, one is the OBD. I told you the onboard diagnostics, and USB, Bluetooth, TPMS, tire pressure monitoring system, the remote key, ADAS, driver assistance, automatic driver assistance. So there are, and also you can able to enter via the Wi-Fi, okay, or the Ethernet. So they are giving the command, okay, command from the outside. So your car will react accordingly. Okay. So I told, okay, one modern car is packed with up to 100 million lines of software. So more than Boeing 747. So we need to protect your car. So there are many hacking happened in the past years. Like this is one of the really real-time hack picture. So Jeep hacked. In a year ago, two cybersecurity researchers, they have hacked the Jeep. They could able to control the transmission of the car, and they could able to control the brake. Okay, then they can able to take the control of steering. Okay, so they could able to on and off your turn on and off your car. In some place they are sitting. Okay, they could communicate through the cloud. Then cloud will communicate to the your car. You are riding your car in your highway, but they could able to communicate to your car, and they can able to control. It will spoil if somebody is hack your car. It will spoil the reputation of your the car company. Okay, like many car company we have, right? So it will spoil the name of the car company. So after that, the market value of the car will be reduced. So that's why the cyber security is required for each microcontroller. Okay, it's not only for a complete car. Each microcontroller, the cyber security is required. So these are all the some important attack vectors in your car. So you can able to malicious remote firmware update. For example, in your mobile phone, you are getting a software update. Maybe frequently, month, 2 months once, you will get the software update. They will fix some defect, and they will provide a software update. Like that, any embedded system, okay, developed with some base software, okay, then they will come into the market on the fly. Okay, for example, maybe it came to garage. In the garage, okay, they will remotely update the firmware, okay, the actual firmware. So all the defects will be fixed. Then the service engineer will update the actual firmware into the your car. So that time there is a chances of somebody can put some malicious firmware into the cloud. So everything will be coming from the cloud, right? They will just if you give some start update, then it will take the software from the cloud, then it will start to update it. Okay, somebody, the hacker, if they put some malicious or the hacker software into the cloud, okay, then that software will be updated into your ECU, okay, the microcontroller. Then microcontroller will started to work with hacker software. Then it will give some data to the outside, or it will react in a different way, whatever they have the hacker written. And the second point would be the lock and unlock the doors. Okay, so they could able to read the pattern of your lock and unlock. They could able to lock and unlock the doors, turn on and off the vehicle. The Jeep one, they have could able to turn and off the vehicle, and the GPS tracking, speed, altitude, and also the read the car internal data. Okay, they could able to read your car data also. For example, there is a temperature monitoring system top of your engine. If the temperature goes more than 100 degree, it will give some indication to the user. For example, engine will work on a different temperature. So if it is going beyond 100 degrees Celsius, then it will give the notifications to user, and also it will open some engine oil valve, and it will supply the oil to the engine. Okay, but somebody hacked your microcontroller inside your car. Somebody changed from 100 to 150. It's everything. It's a program, right? It is stored as a binary data in your microcontroller. Somebody find out, okay, this is the position, your configuration values are available. I have they have changed from 100 to 150 Celsius. What will happen? Okay, so it will go to 150 degrees Celsius, then it will give the notification to the user, and it will open the open the valve, oil valve, then it will supply the oil to the engine. But in the meantime, anything will happen. Okay, so these are all completely related, closely related to the human life. So each and every microcontroller, the cybersecurity is required. Can you hear me, right?
Yes, yes, we are hearing you. No problem.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So yeah. Then how to achieve the cyber security? Cyber security is simply we are implementing. For example, I hear from professor. Okay, you are in your topic. You are using IoT products like Raspberry Pi, Node ECU, and Arduino. Okay, for example, your many projects like you are trying to communicate with one Raspberry Pi to another Raspberry Pi, or one Node MCU to another one. Okay, so you are sending some data to master to slave or slave to master. Whether if you are encrypting and sharing to other slave, and slave is decrypting and sending back to you, that is not a proper way of achieving the cyber security. Okay, so if you are achieving 100% cyber security, you need to do all the things. Okay, you need to choose the right hardware. Okay, so hardware means you need to, for example, you need to choose the HSM supported hardware security module. Okay, it has the own cryptographic engine. Okay, it has the own secret data storage, and also many things are available. The tamper production, and also the end-to-end communication. For example, if you have internal RAM, means the RAM from one place to another place, there is a data in and out lines, right? So that is also encrypted. Okay, so you need to choose the right hardware for applying the security. In your, for example, in your Raspberry Pi also, there is a Trezone support is there. So we need to use those kind of co-processor for applying the security, and also software security. The second one is the software security. how we are going to implementing the software. Okay, how we are protecting the key. For example, for encryption, decryption, and signing, everywhere we are using the key. For example, HTTPS communication. Okay, so these are all we want one private key and public key for communicating. Okay, so your browser want some private key. It should communicate. Okay, the encrypted communication. Okay, so whether you are using the cryptographic engines. Okay, for example, your hardware is supporting cryptographic engines. Okay, so the cryptographic engine means in the hardware itself, it will do some encryption and decryption, AES, decryption, encryption, or the signing and verification. But you need to implement in your software. Hardware is supported, but the drivers for communicating with the drivers, you need to write some low-level drivers. Okay, but simply if your hardware is supported, but I'm simply ignoring and I'm going with some software-based encryption and decryption is not a right choice. Okay, for achieving the 100% security. And also how you are storing your keys. Okay, for example, you are going to communicate to many microcontroller. You want to sign your data. Okay, for signing you want a key. If that key, if you are storing somewhere in your host code, host is nothing but it can be accessible to anyone. Okay, so if you are storing into that place, anybody can able to read the key, anybody can able to hack your data, the encrypted data. They could able to decrypt and they can able to read it. Okay, so the storing of the keys also we need to be properly put into some protected area. Some one-time programmable areas are there, and flash protected area available in your microcontroller. So we need to properly use it, those features. And also, if you're implementing everything, but if you're not following the software lifecycle process, for any domain, if you go to IoT domain, automotive domain, any other domains also, software domain also, there is a software life cycle. Okay, you need to start with your requirement, then go to design, then after review of your design, then you need to go to your implementation. Okay, and implementation to testing. Okay, your full functional testing, integration testing, then it will go to the quality, then release the software. So you need to follow complete life cycle, software development life cycle process. Okay, that is what if you're applying these all the things, then only you will achieve the 100% security. Okay, then network security and cloud security. If your car or your microcontroller is going to communicate outside the external network, wireless or wired, okay, or the cloud, so you need to apply some the standard mechanisms like HTTPS. You are going to store some information into the cloud. You want to encrypt and store the data. The database should be encrypted. Okay. And then and finally the security standards. There are ISO specification introduced by all over the world. We should follow for implementing one algorithm. This is the arguments. This is the input. This is the key one you want to use. So like that, there is a specification. All the software manufacturer, okay, software developer, they should follow the standards. And also, if you think about in automotive domain, okay, that's a standard called AUTOSAR, okay, automotive open system architecture. So all over the world, the global partnership of car makers, car components, electronic and semiconductors, software industries, they are following the standard. Okay, for example, one X company is developing some SPI module or the CAN software. Okay, some Y companies are developing the I2C module, I2C software. So finally the car company, they can able to get this software from X and the I2C from Y. They could able to integrate it because both of them following the same standard. Okay, so they no need to. It's very very compatibility. Okay, so one company no need to provide all the complete software. They can buy something from here, something from there, and someone will integrate and make it use. That's why all over the world they are following the common standard. Some of the countries they are following the different standard for their own cars. Okay, but commonly they are following the AUTOSAR standard. Okay, so if you are going from one company to another company also, you can straightforward you can start to work. It's AUTOSAR. So if you learn AUTOSAR from one organization, you can apply into others. Okay, there was no difference. Yeah. So the final one would be the trusted execution environment. I already told. Okay, in the Raspberry Pi, we have a trust zone. Okay, trusted execution environment. So Raspberry Pi is nothing but ARM v7. So in the ARM micro processor, we have a trusted trust zone supported hardware is available. Usually, okay, in your Python code or your application, okay, you will run from the normally it will run from the normal world. It is divided into non-secure world and secure world. So your Python code, whatever the simple applications, it will run from the embedded OS. Okay, it's a normal OS, but you can. This is a coprocessor. The trust zone is nothing but it's isolation from the normal OS. But you could able to run some secure crypto software into this OS. Okay. For example, it has a own MMU, memory management unit, cryptographic accelerator. Okay, then trusted boot, trusted OS, trusted applications. For example, in the open source like OpenSSL software, so it will provide all the cryptographic related functionalities, and so that you can able to run it from here. For example, simple applications like you have used Raspberry Pi, you want to communicate with your cloud. Okay, in that case, if you are putting all the your cryptographic algorithms for doing the encryption or signing or whatever, okay, if you are putting into this OS, okay, then anybody can able to read your key for doing the encryption or signing. You want a key. Okay, if you put inside here normal OS, anybody can able to read it, right? Okay, this is not a 100% achieving of the cybersecurity. You need to put inside your protected hardware resources. Okay, for example, okay, you are locking your home. Okay, you are locking your home, and you are kept your key somewhere in front of your home. Okay, so so easily the theft can happen without spending much time. Okay, so simply I'm doing some encryption and decryption. It's not only achieving the security. It's not a right thing. You need to keep your key in the protected hardware. Okay, so if your hardware is supported some secret data storage, you need to use it. For example, you have there is a open source available, nothing called Opti. Open portable trusted execution environment. That's open source. Okay, you can able to download it from the Git. Then there are very good compilation steps are available in the Google itself. So you can compile. You can bring this trusted OS also. It's a very easy thing. Okay. So then you can able to communicate from the outside to your trusted execution environment, and you can store any secret data, and you can do some encryption and decryption. All the interfaces can be exposed to the here. Okay, so a lot of features available like trust zone. There's a TPM called this one tamper protection module, so you can use it. And also there is a feature called trusted boot. For example, any before booting your OS or your embedded software, first we need to authenticate whether I am booting right software or not. So these are all not only applicable for automotive domain, even this is applicable for any other IoT or any domain. the trusted boot, trusted OS, trusted application, because everywhere they want a security. Okay, they wants to communicate with one place to another place. They wants to definitely encrypt and send. Okay, nowadays we are dealing with our personal information or data, whatever. So, and also if you want to store some vehicle information, okay, you need to store inside this protected hardware resources. Then whenever the vehicle want it, so they will call, read the data from embedded OS, then that will be shared here. Then this trusted OS will communicate with your hardware, then this will read and give back to you. Okay, but normally before communicating to this voice, there is a authentication will happen. Okay, so the hacker could not able to read it from directly from here. Okay, so this is completely isolated. So maybe in your IoT topics, maybe you can use this kind of simple mini projects like bringing up the trusted OS. So these are all the things, okay, you are going to be used in your any company. If you are going to any embedded software development companies, initially they will give Raspberry Pi or Node MCU or Arduino, some small development board, because the company going to implement some IoT product. That time initially they won't decide what is the hardware I'm going to use. Okay, whether it is suitable for this product, what is the cost efficiency of the product. So everything they need to consider. For preparing the hardware, it will take some 6 months, minimum 6 months time. Okay, depends upon the product type. So first they will give handover Raspberry Pi or any development board to you. You can bring this application. Okay, so they will. That time you need to familiar with what is Raspberry Pi, what is these things, how can I bring up. They will give client hardware to you. Okay, you need to bring up bootloader software, kernel, Linux, everything you need to bring up. Then you need to compile your application. Then you need to run it. Okay, these are all they will give only 1 day or 2 day time only. Okay, everything available in the Google. Okay, you need to just search and you need to follow the steps 1, 2, 3 like that. Then you will get output that you need to flash into your Raspberry Pi or Node MCU. Then you need to bring up. Okay, so initially they will give this kind of development board only. So you need to tell, okay, these are all the features available in this hardware. Okay, we can maybe reuse. So if you have an idea, so we need to convey your customer or something. So these are all about the cyber security. Then yeah, if you have any question and answers, questions, maybe you can ask. Thank you so much. Yeah. Hello.
Guys, do you have any doubt? If you want any doubts regarding the carrier in the embedded automatics or in IoT domains, or so what is the carrier passport for the EC students? Anyone want to ask the doubt? You can ask now. Mani, you give just what are the requirements the companies are expecting nowadays for EC engineers for embedded domain? If they want to work on the embedded domain, what the students should prepare when they enter into the embedded companies?
Yeah, sure. So if you are going to the embedded company, the mandatory is the C language. Okay, so there was no much difference in the embedded C and C. It's similar only. Something we are additionally learning about the what is registers, what is some memory, how to access the memory. These are all the things. Okay, something additionally how to deal with IO ports. Okay, these are all coming into the embedded. But if you know the C language, definitely we could able to manage it. Okay, this is the mandatory thing. Okay, for embedded domain. But additionally, nowadays, okay, all the domain, I think one of the student explained Sarumati. So he explained, okay, what are the planning you are going to do in your career. So she mentioned about the machine learning. Okay, so nowadays the machine learning they are applying into the all the major domains, because if you think about one combination during your testing of your product, the human can able to give one or two combinations or maximum 10 combination input, and he will verify the output. But if you apply the machine learning, okay, it will give thousands of combination input. It will find out the issue. Okay, so the mandatory thing would be embedded C, but if you go some scripting language like Python or the Ruby or JavaScript, that is the additional thing. So the recruiters easily, okay, if you know some JavaScript or the Ruby scripting, they can easily recruit, because compared to the C or C++, the Ruby scripting are very easy, JavaScript are very easy, okay, compared to the other programming languages. Okay, but when I work with my colleague from the different university, from the different places, different states, okay, I have worked. So mostly they don't know about the what is C language. They know whatever they studied from the college, they will directly came from the college level. But separately they have learned JavaScript or Python or Ruby script. That is the additional advantages. So the people, the architect or the engineering manager, they will, okay, if you know Python or Ruby script, that is the add-on advantage for me. You can, they will easily select with the higher packages. So like mandatory is the C, but definitely the any one of the scripting language nowadays they started to expect. And also machine learning. If you see many YouTube training regarding the machine learning and the data science, okay, if you know about the fundamental thing, you can able to apply. Anyway, it's coming from the machine learning or the data science. How you are going to apply by using the Python or Ruby scripting or JavaScript only. Okay, so that's a plugins. So you can able to easily understand if you know the scripting languages. This is the expectation from the company, and also the main thing would be the communication skill. Okay, so what I learned from the my experience, okay, some people have a complete technical knowledge. They don't have a communication skill. Okay, but somebody they don't have really what is embedded, what is microcontroller, something, nothing. Okay, but they have a very some good communication skill. Okay, simply they can able to manage it. If you don't know anything about it technically, okay, they can able to manage it. But some point of time they will get stuck. Both are required. Communication skill is mandatory, okay, and also your domain knowledge is definitely required. For example, one thing I want to share, okay, we have time. Whatever you are studying in our career, whatever we are studying in our career, even microcontroller, microprocessor, DSP, okay, inter-integrated circuits, digital electronics, okay, and even one more part also there. Not remember. Okay, so all the topics definitely at least one time it will come into your life, okay, in your career, because if you go to any domain, you will work for I2C, you will work for SPA, okay, definitely you will work for digital electronics, okay, the gates, something. If you go to the semiconductor companies, and communication, anyway, definitely if you're going to any communication, all the modem related thing, other stuffs will come. So everywhere you will use whatever you learn from the college. So we need to learn in depth. That's what, okay, my suggestion from my experience also. Does it answer your question? So,
Guys, do you have any doubt? Okay, Sri. Okay.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you for sharing your profound knowledge with us. Gratitude is a quality similar to electricity. It must produced and used up in order to exist at all. It's my immense pleasure to welcome Mr. S. Navin Kumar, final year ECE to pass electricity in our nerves by expressing his gratitude by delivering the vote of thanks.
It's an honor for me to have an opportunity to give a vote of thanks on this special validity function. I, on behalf of ECE department, extended a very hearty vote of thanks to all delegates for their presence in this meeting. I extended my thanks to our honorable chief guest, engineer R. Manigandan, senior specialist Robert Bosch, Bangalore, to take out time from his busy schedule to grace the event. Thank you for inspiring and encouraging us with your grateful knowledge towards our career. A special thanks to Dr. M. Jayaraman, sir, principal of PCET, for providing the constant support to make this function successful. I extend my gratitude to Dr. M. Nisa Angelina, ma'am, head of the Electronics and Communication Engineering Department, for giving their grateful knowledge to make our future towards success career. I extend my sincere gratitude to the organizer, coordinators, and staffs for making this morning a pleasant one. Last but not least, thank you for all the students for their active participation. Thank you everyone once again for making it a great success. Thank you.
Thank you, Navin Kumar. Everyone can leave the meet.
Okay. Thank you to all.
thank you.
Thank you, Mani.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Thank you.